Hey guys, it's the social side. The revitalization of It's Consulting Time is back, and we're taking it back to the basics. That's B2TB. This curriculum-based season will shine a light on public education surrounding civics, community organizing, and trending topics. Guys, It's Consulting Time back to the basics is supporting the transformation of cultures and subcultures while building self-sufficiency and generating collective impact. Remember, purpose over popularity is always and will always be our motto. Tune in to It's Consulting Time back to the basics every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be on all platforms. YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and you can even catch a few clips on Instagram. It's Consulting Time back to the basics with your girl Lillie Mae. See you there. Hey guys, it's the social side. The revitalization of It's Consulting Time is back, and we're taking it back to the basics. That's B2TB. This curriculum-based season will shine a light on public education surrounding civics, community organizing, and trending topics. Guys, It's Consulting Time back to the basics is supporting the transformation of cultures and subcultures while building self-sufficiency and generating collective impact. Remember, purpose over popularity is always and will always be our motto. Tune in to It's Consulting Time back to the basics every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be on all platforms. YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and you can even catch a few clips on Instagram. It's Consulting Time back to the basics with your girl Lillie Mae. See you there. Hey guys, it's the social side. The revitalization of It's Consulting Time is back, and we're taking it back to the basics. That's B2TB. This curriculum-based season will shine a light on public education surrounding civics, community organizing, and trending topics. Guys, It's Consulting Time back to the basics is supporting the transformation of cultures and subcultures while building self-sufficiency and generating collective impact. Remember, purpose over popularity is always and will always be our motto. Tune in to It's Consulting Time back to the basics every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be on all platforms. YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and you can even catch a few clips on Instagram. It's Consulting Time back to the basics with your girl Lillie Mae. See you there. Hey guys, it's the social side. The revitalization of It's Consulting Time is back, and we're taking it back to the basics. That's B2TB. This curriculum-based season will shine a light on public education surrounding civics, community organizing, and trending topics. Guys, It's Consulting Time back to the basics It's supporting the transformation of cultures and subcultures while building self-sufficiency and generating collective impact. Remember, purpose over popularity is always and will always be our motto. Tune in to It's Consulting Time, back to the basics, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be on all platforms: YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and you can even catch a few clips on Instagram. It's Consulting Time, back to the basics with your girl Lillie Mae. See you there. Hey guys, it's the social side. The revitalization of It's Consulting Time is back, and we're taking it back to the basics. That's B2TB. This curriculum-based season will shine a light on public education surrounding civics, community organizing, and trending topics. What's up, everybody? It's going down tonight. It is going down tonight. And the reason it's going down tonight is because I'm going to do an intro. You guys know I always do an intro to bring you back, right? To bring you up to speed. So I'm going to do an intro. We're going to talk about a little bit about last week, right? We're going to talk a little bit about what I discussed last week. But for real tonight, guys, for all intents and purposes, we're really going to dive in. We're going to dive in because there are so many things that I want you to understand. Guys, there are elections coming up in November, right? So I was very, very, very intentional in this conversation. But first and foremost, let me give you this trigger warning, okay? Talking about politics and policy have nothing to do with you deciding who you are, if you're going to be a Democrat, or Republican, or independent. I don't give a dog on who you are, because guess what? At the end of the day, none of it really matters. And I'm going to tell you why a little bit later. But what I do want to do, I want to say welcome back. I know a lot of you have been tuning in each week. In September, we talked about the generations, right? And this month, we are going to dive in and really have a conscious conversation. And look, let me turn all these ringers off, because y'all already know I get to talking and then the phone start ringing. But this week, you know, for the month of October, we're talking about politics and policy. And, you know, last week I talked about the difference in those things, because realistically, a lot of people don't even really understand that there are two different things, guys. There are two different things. Politics and policy are totally different. And so tonight, you know, I want to run it back, right? I want to run it back and talk about the actual definition of a policy and the actual definition of politics. And then we will get into the meat of the conversation. So once again, guys, welcome back. Tonight is about, you know, we're going to talk about political parties. We're going to talk about policy and politics. But tonight we're going to really dive into ideologies and worldview. So just to recap, you know, policies are those things that are the plans. Okay. The policies are the plans that our official actors create to embrace general goals. Now, the thing about policies is that we have policies in every aspect of our lives. We have policies at the local or municipal level, if you will. We have policies at the state level. We have policies, of course, you know, at the federal and national levels. And generally, that's where you're most concerned. But I don't think you should be, okay? I don't think you should be. And as we go through this evening, you'll learn why. Then politics, okay? Politics reference those activities that are used by certain entities or certain localities or countries or states to make decisions, right? So politics are the activities utilized to create and formulate policy. Politic to policy, okay? Now, being political is a totally different concept. Because being political, refers more to authority, right? Okay, and public life. And so we're going to talk about that as well, because tonight, what we're going to do, we're going to more or less operationalize politics and the two main parties, right? The Democrats and the Republicans. And we're also going to talk about independence, but we're also going to talk about how to navigate politics. So we're going to talk about political participation. But let's go back. Because guys, y'all know last week, I talked to you a great deal about political parties. And one of the things I hate, and y'all know I despise it. I'm very vocal about the ish I despise. So one of the things I despise is the mere fact that so many people do not want to acknowledge that the parties did switch hands. Guys, when you say that Democrats had slaves, I need you to understand that the Democratic Party in the 1800s is not the same Democratic Party today. The ideology changed in 1932. And the political party, the Republicans today that wanted to abolish slavery are not the Republican Party of yesterday that wanted to abolish slavery is not the same Republican Party of today. Okay. And I need you guys to understand that, because for some reason, you people have it stuck in your mind that the Republicans and Democrats have been on the same platforms all the time. And no, that's just not the case. And also, there has only been one independent in the history of the United States that actually won an election. Who can guess who that was? I need somebody, and I'm looking at the comments. So you see me looking over, I'm looking at the comments on all the platforms. So who can tell me who was the only independent to ever win an election? I'm going to give you like 30 seconds. In social media world, 30 seconds is a long time. Okay, I see like 17 of y'all watching. Don't nobody know? George Washington. Why? Because like I told you last week, if you would have been paying attention, there were no political parties. There were no political parties. Okay, so for those of you that weren't here last week, and I'm not going all the way back through, but I am going to give you some information. So basically, what happened was we started out with Federalist and Anti-Federalist, okay? Federalists and Anti-Federalists. The Federalists were all for big government. Anti-Federalists were like, hell no. And so initially, the founders of the Constitution were opposed to political parties. So from like 1796 to 1828, there really were not any political parties, okay? I'm sorry, 1796 to 1828. There were no political parties. So when one political party actually generated itself was in like 1824. And that's because the Federalist Party dissolved when James Monroe was elected. Okay? And so with that election, that yielded the first so-called party system. But realistically, guys, the party system as we know it today did not actually come into play until around, I want to say like 1832. And that's when we ended up, with the National Republicans and the Democratic Republicans and the Whigs and the Democratic Republicans, like we talked about last week. I'm not going back through all this mess. You're just going to have to go back and look at last week's conversation to really understand what happened. Then we came into the third party system, and that was like from 1860 to 1896, okay? And that was also during the period, remember I told you that, y'all, this is the funny thing, and it's still like this today. Throughout history, it has always been the North and the South. Do y'all realize that the 13 colonies have almost always more or less dominated or had some kind of issue relative to policy and politics. Because even back in the 1800s, those late 1800s leading up to the 1900s, Midwest farmers, the Midwest did not have a stake in the game. They did not have a stake in the game. So they said, forget y'all. Y'all not pay attention to us. We don't have a stake in this game. So we're going to create our own daggone party. And they were called the Populists. But guess what? They were a third party. And we're going to talk about those third parties because realistically, those third parties don't fare well. All right. So then we got to the fourth party system. Now, the fourth party system is going to start to make sense. The fourth party system were the Republicans and the Democrats. And this started in 1896 when William McKinley won. Now, from 1896 to 1932, Republicans were against slavery. Okay? Democrats were for slavery because most of the Democrats were white Southerners and rural debtors, and that was, that was their economical benefit, right? Slavery was their economical benefit. However, industrialization in the North, where the Republicans were, so you had the industrialized Northeast and Midwest, and then you had the slave-born South, right? That was 1896 to 1932, guys. That fifth party system that hit in 1932. That's where we are today, okay? That's where we are today. We are at that party system. So get it out of your head that Democrats of today have Republicans. No. Had slaves. No. Okay? Get that out of your head. Stop saying it. I'm sick of you saying all this ignorant stuff. Stop saying it because that's just not the case, okay? All right. So now that we've gone back through history, let's actually talk about some of the things that, have actually gone on and kind of bring and shed a light on why this stuff is so important. And also, guys, I want to shine a light on what a lot of this stuff means to me and why it's so important for me to really give you this information. All right. So I just put the definition up that a political party is an organized group of people with common values and beliefs who try to get their candidates elected to a political office. And y'all know there are political parties in every entity, that we're affiliated with. I say it all the time. I don't necessarily believe that I don't like politics, right? I don't like politics as it stands in our respective entities. For all intents and purposes, when you're being political, you're disenfranchising somebody, right? Now, granted, there's a concept called classical liberalism. And classical liberalism more or less focuses in on individual freedoms, right? Individual freedoms. Everybody, should be individually free, and there should be this free competition and all of this. But then there's a concept of progressive liberalism, and progressive liberalism more or less focuses in on more balance, a more kind of like I'm gonna say a limited market economy where literally, there's some ups and some downs, but we're working more towards equity. Because what people fail to realize is you always want equality. I want equality. But I'm gonna say this: I don't want equality if I'm standing at 5'4.5" and somebody beside me is 6'2". Equality means that if they get a 5-inch box to stand on and I get a 5-inch box to stand on, they're still going to be taller than me. I want some equity, right? I want some equity. I need to know that I'm going to get like a 10-inch box so that I can be as tall as they are. So then we have a level playing field. So now, don't give me what you're giving everybody else, because I may not need what everybody else needs, right? I need what's for me. I need what I need to get to a level playing field. And so sometimes in politics, you can't accomplish that. You cannot accomplish that simply because of the design, okay? So understand, all political parties have one thing in common. how they are organized. And we're going to get there in a few minutes. I kind of want to, I want to go through it. Now, when we talk about the organization of political parties, right? So you have the National Committee, and the National Committee is the top level of the party. Then you step down to your state committees. Then you have county or local committees. Then you have precinct organizations, and you have party members. Guys, we have to be active at every level. We have to be active at every level. I think the most ignorant thing you can say is that I don't vote. So if you don't vote, dismiss yourself right now unless you really are open to hearing why it's important. Okay? All right. So I didn't see anybody leave yet, so that's cool. all right. So back to the business at hand. So when we talk about party platforms, okay, now this is where it's gonna get kind of interesting, because now we're gonna talk about the very things that a lot of people really don't understand, and that's what leaves you really, really ignorant. All right. So when we talk about party platforms, these are the principles that political parties stand on to more or less persuade us, right, the general public, for the purpose of having them voted into office. Okay. Now, a lot of times these can be controversial. So any of those individual topics are called planks. Like, y'all know planks, boards. So yeah. So think of party platforms as a floor, as a hardwood floor, and think of individual topics associated with that wood floor as the planks. Now, the thing about the party platform is that a lot of times you don't really understand what's going on, because media. Okay, let me make sure I define this. Y'all, I am not talking about your social media gospel speakers that know everything in the world and wouldn't know a damn policy if they saw it. I'm talking about your actual media, your actual news media, your MSNBCs, your CNNs, your investigative reporters that actually are tasked and trained to go out here and get empirical data for you. Stop believing everything you see on social media. For real. Because half of these experts and influencers, they only influencing themselves and influencing you to be ignorant. So please find sources of empirical data. Okay? Based on fact, scholarly research, so that you can truly understand what's going on. Period. Okay, so back to the business at hand. So we have a two-party system. And so basically, with the two-party system, it kind of limits the choices of candidates. Okay, now there are pluses and negatives to that. If you remember when I talked about how the Anti-Federalists and Federalists were not political parties, but because there were a lot of issues within that Federalist Party, the Federalist Party dissolved around about 1816. And, those Whigs, the Democratic Republicans were formed, and then you had the Whigs. Well, a lot of times, people have unrest. There's always unrest. Guys, for real. When I tell you there is so much unrest amongst the political parties, even within the party, because you got to think about it. You have individuals that claim Democrat, claim Republican, but they're actually very, very, very moderate. They're in the middle, but they don't want to classify themselves as independent, because then what happens is they're not getting the support from either side. So they tend to lean with the side that they feel align with their values, most important. Now, an independent or non-party politician, like I said, they generally have a centrist viewpoint. or they may have a vantage point based upon issues that they don't feel like any other major party is addressing. So the crazy thing about it is, it's like, guys, I'm just gonna be real. Two's company, but three is a crowd. Because the United States operates under what's called pluralism, right? And so in this pluralistic, philosophy of operating, the winner takes all. So we know the candidate with the most votes is the sole winner. Well, what happens is, when you have a third entity in there, sometimes not sometimes, generally it messes up the whole game. Yes, I said game, because that's all it is, guys. It messes up the whole game, because what happens is, people that don't want to vote within the party they identify with, they may vote for the independent, and they may actually agree with a lot of the things that the independent is saying. But the issue with that is, George Washington was the only independent to ever win an election. And that was because there were no political parties. Yeah. So for what it's worth, guys, I'm not saying don't vote for independents. Please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. But I'm going to say it again. No third party candidate has ever taken the White House. George Washington was the first independent, and that is because there were no real political parties. Okay? Now, also, guess what? There are some policies, and that's where this politicking comes in. There are some barriers at the ballot box that make it difficult for third parties to get on the ticket. I'm just saying. So do your research, check it out so you can understand. And also the idea of the electoral college, and we're going to talk about that a little later this month, because I want to I want to hold off on that. I don't want to get into that too much until the year of a presidential election. But yeah, the electoral college, and then campaign finance laws and ballot access laws also contribute to the dominance of this two-party system. So I'm gonna give you an example. In 2000, y'all know the Tea Party, the Green Party, whatever. But in 2000, how many people remember the political activist Ralph Nader? It's so funny because oh yeah, absolutely, Angie. It's so funny because my mom was an avid CNN watcher, MSNBC. Guys, like, for real, the reason I know a lot of this stuff, man, I grew up watching Larry King Live. Do y'all understand? I grew up watching Larry King Live. I watched Larry King Live so much, I really wanted to be on his show. Like, I was like, Mommy, I want to be on Larry King Live because I got something to say. I even used to call in. Y'all know they used to have the numbers at the bottom of the screen you could call. I'm like 7, 8 years old calling in to Larry King Live because I got something to say. But anyway, so so yeah, realistically, with this whole concept of independence and things of that nature, let me get back to it. Ralph Nader, right? He was a political activist and independent candidate around 2000, and his party was the Green Party. And everybody, I'm trying to tell you, people really was rocking with Ralph Nader. But how many of y'all don't even know who the hell Ralph Nader is? Who else was it? Ross Perot, looking like a damn mouse. Ross Perot was another one. I like old Ross. But and the Libertarian Party is another popular third party. But guys, generally, third parties are a plus. For all the negatives, they are a plus because they more or less make the two major parties focus on their issues. So think of independence, and this gonna be this might traumatize some of y'all, so I'm sorry if it does. But think of Democrats and Republicans as a couple that's divorcing. Oh, my ring light just went out. Oh, well. Think of Democrats and Republicans as a couple that's divorcing. And then think of the independent party as the like the judge, right? And so I say it like that because at the end of the day, there we go. I say it like that because if the third party and their issue get enough attention, the other two parties are forced to deal with the issue. So just think of them like the judge, like they gonna make these two people cut the damn argument out because they're gonna take something. And the thing about it is the independent party pretty much just play that game. No, independent parties too are almost like the kids. When you go to your mama and ask for something, you go to your daddy and ask for something, and if they already beefing, you're gonna end up leaving there with something. So independent parties always gain something, even if they don't gain it all, they gain something. And I also feel like, and this is just my personal opinion, so this isn't a fact, but my personal opinion is that sometimes independents are put into position for that reason. And I'm going to tell you why I'm focusing on the election of 2000. The reason I'm focusing on the election of 2000, y'all, in 2000, I was 15 years old, okay? I was 15 years old. And I remember that election between George Bush and Al Gore. And I ain't talking about Daddy Bush. I'm talking about the son. Remember, George H.W. Bush is the daddy. George W. Bush is the son. Do y'all know that Ralph Nader took like almost 3% of the popular vote in that race? And that's why there was only 0.5%. 0.5% that separated George Bush and Al Gore. What am I saying? What am I saying? Y'all can read between the lines. In the election of 2000, I'm going to say it one more time. In the election of 2000, Ralph Nader, the independent candidate, took almost 3% of the vote, or the popular vote. That only left 0.5% separation between Al Gore and George Bush. And a lot of you guys, and like I said, I am not throwing daggers at any party. But a lot of Republican voters and a lot of Democratic voters had an issue. When a lot of Republican voters were very upset when Democratic voters were saying that election was stolen from Al Gore. Well, guys, in essence, it was. Because you got to think about it like this. If our system is a two-party system, right? And it's not saying that this is concrete, because the thing is, nothing in this life is certain but death. We're going to all die one at one point in time, right? We're going to die. That's the only absolute certainty in life. But what I'm saying is, if we have a two-party system, and if we can clearly see that no matter what we do, an independent is never getting elected, why don't we as the common people organize, figure out which way we want to go, and then start to develop people in our communities at the local level? Guys, that's how you get involved. That's how you end up, controlling shit. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. Like, I don't give a damn what reality star sleeping with what reality star. I don't care what celebrity do this. I don't care who baby mama. I don't care. I need you to really get involved with the issues. Because guess what? These people that run these political parties, these people that's running the conventions, They're the ones that control all of this anyway. Networks, guess what, baby? Networks are backed by political ideology. They all have a worldview that they must take. And if you don't know, you better ask somebody. Give me a call. I'm here for the conversation. So once again, I say 2 is company, but baby, 3 is a crowd. And somebody asked me, who am I going to vote for? Right now, I don't know. And I'm very transparent about it. Right now, I don't know because Joe Biden is old as hell, y'all. For as cool as I think he is and as hilarious as I think he is, he's old as hell. And that's another thing. Voting for the president is important. But I wish y'all would start voting for your local representatives and your state representatives. Because guess what? Do y'all realize that your justices have lifetime appointments? So y'all need to get your state, your local and state people in order. So then we can start to transform shit. Guys, the president cannot do more than Congress allows. There is a reason there are separations of powers and checks and balances. Now, I will say this. I have witnessed checks and balances at work. As I'm currently doing my fellowship research on mass incarceration and the war on drugs, it is pushing me to now tap into doing more research on the legalization or decriminalization of drugs because I'm witnessing the separation of powers and checks and balances at work. So guys, I need you to really, really understand. Get some business about yourselves. Start to understand that it's okay to turn up and have fun. But y'all, why is it that we quick to put Martin Luther King on a party, but we not quick to really sit down and turn up over these damn issues? Like, why are we not turning up about this? Right? Like, the saddest thing, and my platform generally caters to people, that are 30s and up, right? But it's sad that a lot of people don't even understand that realistically there were no drug laws until like after 1914. And then daggone Thomas Jefferson grew marijuana as a cash crop for years up in Mount Vernon in Virginia. Like, y'all, it's just so much that you don't understand why it's so important. And that's why I'm here, guys. For real, for real. I like to have fun and I like to talk shit. But guys, honestly, I'm here because we are confused people. I'm just going to keep it real. Confused. We as a, and this normally, I'm talking collectively, but right now I'm talking to my Black people. I'm going to say y'all confused. So confused. You do not understand that politics are defined by what people think and believe about society, power, and rights. Politics determines actions. Everything, all right, let's look at it like this. Everything has to pass through somebody's mind before they act. So how do the ideas and beliefs of what we see and what we've experienced appear in our minds? So the first thing I ask you to do is critically examine your reality. Think for yourself. Stop thinking for what Beyonce and Jay-Z say. Stop thinking for what Cardi B and Offset say. Stop thinking for what Kanye and the Kardashians say. Critically examine yourself. Now, for all my holy rollers out there, I'm going to take you to the word. But let a man examine himself, And so let him eat of that bread and drink of that cup. Those of y'all that grew up in the Baptist church with the burgundy hymnal, you know that's a part of the scripture that we read before, every first Sunday for communion. You always read that. If y'all ain't grew up in the old school Baptist church, y'all don't even know what I'm talking about. But so critically examine your reality. Think for yourself. But the other thing is, how do these ideas and beliefs appear in our minds? From the influence of others' opinions. Oh, what a wonderful world it would be. Oh, what a wonderful world it would be if people were influenced by facts and not opinions. Whew. Okay. Who do we take our issues to, and who do you believe can solve our complaints? Okay, so all right. Now, you might have to be a little bit more specific, so I'm going to give you some general information. So it kind of depends on what your issue is. For matters of now, criminal justice, y'all, criminal justice is my area. That was my first love and will always be my first love. So with criminal justice issues, you definitely want to look at your ACLU. You want to look at legal aid. You want to find, generally, I always say at the local level, talk to your council person. Now, depending on what locality you're in, your council person may not be approachable. But if you live in a small area, like I grew up in a city in Virginia called Danville, Virginia, and politicians were pretty accessible. Now, a lot of that was because, once again, I was a very vocal child. My parents were older. Everybody in the city knew my parents. So it was kind of easy to access people. And I grew up in a pretty political church. So it was very easy to access people. People were in and out of our church. You were very active. So I would say, first, find your representative for your particular district, ward, what have you, and talk to them. When you get down to specific issues, so if you have an issue with like the school system or the Board of Education, find your particular school board rep or find any school board rep and talk to them. There are so many resources out there. And if you hit me up directly, if you have an issue, tell me what it is, and I'll definitely help you navigate it and resource map and find what you need. Healthcare. When it comes to healthcare, I always tell people to contact DMAS. Now, Virginia is called DMAS, Department of Medical Assistance Services, but that falls under the United States Department of Health and Human Services. And so that's a whole different beast. So there are just so many different things, guys. And I don't want to, I hope I answered a little bit of your question, but for real, if you want to ask, specifics, hit me up. I'm open. I love this stuff. So I'm open to helping you resource map. Absolutely. All right, so let's jump back over. So getting back to how these ideas and beliefs appear in our minds and what, political parties look like and things of that nature. Sometimes with our politicians, they're imprisoned in their mind. They're imprisoned in their mind. Because the mind control comes from wanting to stay and remain in power. Okay. So there are two main concepts about the roles of these ideas in politics. You got political culture and you got political ideology. Now, political culture is that broad pattern of political orientation shared by, a large group of people. So it can be national, regional, class, or ethnicity. Guys, I want you to really understand something, okay? I want you to understand that a lot of times, just because particular celebrities speak out in support of a particular issue or whatever, that don't necessarily mean they align with it. It's just like this. Just because you take a picture with a celebrity and post it don't mean you know them, and it don't mean you done made it, and it don't mean that you own. Celebrities take pictures with people. Celebrities endorse. Celebrities are there to influence. Celebrities are there to persuade. So stop getting bamboozled following celebrities. Why do you think politicians use celebrities? Because they know ignorant minds are going to follow the celebrity and not the actuality. Fact or myth? I'll take fact for 500, Alex. But anyway, then you have this political ideology. Now that's the system of political ideas that drives political action. So the political ideology is when we get into these political parties and organizing a revolution or a counter-revolution. And we're going to talk about that too as we get down through the next couple of months. So, but okay, so political ideologies really are used to govern societies, right? Because in order to have integration or conflict, you need an ideology. Think about it. You got to have some kind of viewpoint or vantage point to integrate with somebody or to have conflict with somebody, right? And an ideology is nothing but a clear, concise set of ideas for purposeful action. So, okay, let me pause right here. Ideology is not for you to get out here and turn up, okay? Because, okay, my Black people, for real, stop organizing when it's time to go tear up some shit, okay? Organize for a purposeful reason. Like Miss Sheila said, go to school board meetings. Okay, organize in that manner. And the other thing is, Lord Jesus, stop going to these doggone school board meetings, turning up and cussing and hollering at these people. The only person that successfully did that and got away with it was Donald Trump. And look at him now in court for every God's name. Okay, all right, because y'all look, I got 24 more minutes with y'all because I am not going over 8 o'clock tonight, and I haven't even got through half of the curriculum for tonight, but it's all good because we got next week, and I'm going to stay on this because I'm very, very passionate. But so the founders of the Constitution, you know, the Constitution was based on and built on, you know, God, right? So the earliest ideologies were religions. If you think historically, many of our earliest rulers were priests. And that's a whole different conversation. So don't even go there because I know some of y'all like, don't even go there. But in today's society, as we move, you know, we've transitioned through so much. But as we transition from classical liberalism to progressive liberalism, and now, you know, we're really in this progressivist movement, which, yeah, whatever. Political ideologies have become extremely secular. And some of them are anti-religious. But the interesting thing is that religions continue to serve as important sources for ideologies to this day. Because guess what? I bet y'all didn't know this. You have Christian democracy. You have Christian socialism. You have Islamic radicalism. You have Protestant fundamentalism. You have Catholic radicalism and fundamentalism. So there are so many different ideologies that impact what's going on in the world today. The difference between ideologies, honestly, are rooted in basic assumptions about human nature. And that's like, are humans naturally peaceful, cooperative, you know, rational beings? Are we? Individuals and society, like, which interests come first? In your life, do your individual interests come first, or do the collective interests come first? And I'm gonna tell you right now, if y'all say the individual, a whole lot of y'all gonna be lying, because that, you know, we live in a self-centered, egotistical world, and it is almost damn sickening. Period. And because we live in this self-centered, egotistical world, there are so many of our children who are clueless and don't know which way to go, because they were born to these Gen Y and millennial parents that have not a clue how to do anything other than get on a phone and Google and get on Instagram and believe everything that's there. And that is sad. Because then we get to equality. How much social inequality is acceptable? Now, I know y'all probably not going to do it, but I'm going to throw this out there to you. Look at John Locke, Immanuel Kant, Karl Marx. If you go back and look at their philosophies, they talk a lot about there needing to be either some social inequality or why at certain points in time there have been so much political unrest. Because at certain points in time in history, there have been so much political unrest. For real. So when we think about things like the New Deal and the Great Society and even the Affordable Care Act, people despised a lot of those things because even in trying to achieve some form of equality, there's going to be some inequality. But the question I pose to you tonight, and I really want you to take this to the bed tonight, is it fair to disenfranchise the haves in order to bring up the have-nots? Really? Is it? Is it? Guys, I want y'all to take that to the bed tonight, because I think that's the biggest issue between Democrats and Republicans today. And that's the biggest issue amongst people. One of the things that I hate, and y'all know I voice this all the time, I hate the fact that, people have, okay. Tiffany said, no, it's not. Okay. All right. And you know what, Tiffany, I'm definitely going to bring you on next week because we're going to talk about that. I think that with Democrats and Republicans today, Republicans say we give too much away. We're giving out too much free stuff. Democrats say, but we need to help the people that don't have. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to begin to wind it up. What you guys don't know about is the corporate welfare, because corporations get welfare too. So I'm going to say this again. Is it fair to disenfranchise the haves in order to bring up the have-nots? Understanding that people are not the only ones who get welfare. Corporations get welfare also in different forms. All right, guys. So, because this thing could get real tonight. All right. I'm going to try to get y'all. We're going to get through. Because I really want you guys to, I'm really enjoying, talking with you. I'm enjoying the interactions. I really and truly, I love these conversations. So let's get into political parties and their ideologies. So you have the far left and the far right, but you have these three mediums. You have the central left, the centra, and the central right. So you have far left, which is your left side extremists. You have your right side extremists, but then you have your conservatives, your moderates, and your liberals. And this is why I often say I don't necessarily identify with a political party. I identify with my ideology. Okay? Absolutely. So your central left would be the liberals. So those of you that have liberal thoughts. Your central right would be your conservatives. And your center would be your liberal conservatives or your moderates. And I always say I consider myself to be a moderate because I'm very conservative about some things. The interesting thing, and I'm very open about this. I'm conservative when it comes to welfare. I'm very conservative when it comes to welfare. I think that welfare should be utilized as a temporary form of assistance. I hate that there are generations of people who live off of welfare. I hate that because it does not have to be that way. There are groups of people in these United States of America who use welfare and purchase beautiful homes, and now they have equity in their homes and they do not utilize welfare anymore. Then you have people that literally lay on their back and birth babies so that they can get a check so that they don't have to work, and they wait until March, February, March, and April so that they can get $10,000 to $20,000 tax refunds. But you got it this year, didn't you? Because you didn't get all them big checks. I ain't see them 30-day tags and none of that stuff like I have in years prior. So anyway, but when you get far left and far right, that's when it gets foolish, because your far left would be like your communists, your radicals, and your socialists, and your far right would be more or less your fascists, right? Your ultra, your ultra conservatives. And so, and that's the standard linear model for political ideologies. And so, just to kind of help you understand it. So remember the right, okay? I want you to remember the right side are your conservatives. So conservatives want to preserve the status quo. They oppose change. Can you guess which party is more associated with conservatism? Anybody wanna take a stab at it? Which party is more associated with conservatism? Oh yeah, I'm definitely moderate. Cause listen, some of this stuff I'd be like, oh hell no. Okay, y'all don't want to say it. Well, I'm gonna tell you. So generally, Republicans are more conservative. Okay, um, they throw back forces at change. They really seek to restore the old order, and I'm gonna leave that right there. Um, if you notice, there's a reason why there are generally the most wars during Republican administrations, because they mobilize the nation for war. And generally they're the ones that suppress that pluralism that I was talking about earlier. They suppress pluralism to achieve unity through orthodoxy. And so I think that you have to understand what you believe. That's why I said this topic is important. I'm not trying to teach you who to be or what to be. I want to teach you to really understand why this stuff is important. Okay. So then we have the left, right? And the left side, those are the individuals that go to the roots of the problem and work to change the foundations of society. Now, they are deeply rooted in advancing the interests of society against the interests of the elites. Okay? Most elitists believe heavily in individual freedoms, but they don't believe in individual freedoms for the collective. And that's a big difference. And I'll get into that probably, I think that I want to say it might be the February, March curriculum. I can't remember right now, but yeah, we're going to get into that. And a lot of times left-sided individuals, and if they're on that communist end of the spectrum, they believe in abolishing private property to achieve equality and social harmony. So, but then again too, they also suppress pluralism to achieve unity through orthodoxy. So the funny thing is that at the far left and far right, both entities want to suppress that idea of pluralism, that idea that the majority rules if it's not in their favor. But then you have the central, right? And the central, they borrow ideas from the left and the right. And they want to expand the scope of freedom. You know, liberalists, true liberalists, accept change. They assert the importance of individual rights and work to develop a market economy. So it looks different. So you got, guys, you got so many dimensions here when we talk about these political parties, and I'm winding up. But you got, do you want to change or preserve the status quo? Do you want freedom or do you want order? Do you want pluralism or do you want orthodoxy? Do you want equality or do you want inequality? Is it the market or is it the state? Y'all, there are too many possible freaking combinations. So imagine a two-dimensional model that look like this, right? And you got the market up here and the state down here. You got the left over here, and you got the right side over here. You got welfare state liberalism, so that's like your social democracy. Then you got this progressive liberalism, which is this neoliberalism, and that's like the right-sided market. Welfare, left-sided market. Then you got traditional conservatism down here, that's your right state. Then you got communism down here, that's your left state. Like, where do you line up? And then though, you gotta add in 3 or more dimensions. Because when you do that, now you gotta add equality or inequality. So now you got this two-dimensional object, but now you gotta add a third dimension, slice through it, inequality over here or equality over here. But you still got 2 dimensions that's left out. So guys, as I tune it up, tonight was very important, right? Tonight is important. This is some important information. All I charge you to do, go out and research for yourself. Understanding this information, I have been studying, political science, criminal justice, law, public administration for years. None of my study was honorary. It was all conferred. So I promise you, the information that I give you is not just coming from research and scholarly data. It's coming from a lot of, work that I've done down through the years in a variety of governmental entities, primarily criminal justice agencies and state human services agencies. But understanding the political process, understanding the policy process is imperative to your existence in these United States of America. I charge you to please tap in. Hit me up if you have questions. I am always here to talk about this kind of stuff. It's so funny. A lot of times I post real ignorant, out of the box stuff on social media. And the sad thing about it is I do that because that's the only way I can get your attention to give you factual information. And that's sad. It's a sad day when ignorance is the attention getter and intellect is ostracized. Guys, it's your girl Lillie Mae. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. If you want to come aboard and co-host with me and have a conscious conversation, I'm open to it. I will let you know this is a curriculum-based program and we have some amazing shows forthcoming. Just to let you know, this month is all about politics and policy. November will be about civic participation and responsibility. And then in December, we're going to journal into the new year. And that's going to be an amazing conversation. And we're going to start the year off with a cleanup. Then in February, we're going to talk about restoring leadership and submission without competition. And that's going to be a sexy conversation because it's Black History Month, but we're not going to talk about no Black history. We're going to talk about relationships because we have to restore the humility and honor of our men in our community. And so I think I got the right way for us to do that. In March, that curriculum is called It's Not What You See on TV. We are going to dive into mental illness, and I'm going to really take it there with y'all. In April, we're going to talk about what happened back then, and that's going to be all about parenting, child-parent relationships, and how that's affecting you today. And then in May, as we prepare for the summer, we're going to go into courts, cops, and corrections, but there's more. And guys, that is definitely my area of expertise. I have been in that realm of work for well over, y'all, I hate to say it, for almost 20 years have I been working in the criminal justice arena and doing things in that nature. So guys, I'm so excited. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, It's Consulting Time is a complex audiovisual platform. And we serve to provide a space for creatives, innovators, and leaders to speak freely and consciously. But back to the basics is all about providing you with empirical data and analysis necessary to support transforming cultures and subcultures while building self-sufficiency and transforming communities. Guys, I am so excited. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Shout out to Legacy Avenue. I see Tiffany Michelle tuned in. Y'all, Tiffany Michelle coming up here next week. Y'all gonna love her. I don't know how y'all gonna handle the both of us, but Tiffany Michelle is definitely coming up here next week. Miss Sheila, thank you so much for tuning in. Love you to life. She is a wealth of information too, guys. So prayerfully, I can get her up here one day. I love her to life as well. I see Dominique tuned in. So definitely, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It's your girl, Lillie Mae. It's been real, and we're signing out.
Topics. Guys, It's Consulting Time. Back to the basics. It's supporting the transformation of cultures and subcultures while building self-sufficiency and generating collective impact. Remember, purpose over popularity is always and will always be our motto. Tune in to It's Consulting Time, Back to the Basics, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be on all platforms: YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and you can even catch a few clips on Instagram. It's Consulting Time, Back to the Basics with your girl, Lillie Mae. See you there.